A single dad saves a drunk billionaire CEO from danger, but what she does next turns both their lives upside down. Power, fear, and unexpected loyalty collide in the most shocking way.
The night started with laughter, bright music, and the kind of careless joy that follows expensive champagne and a room full of familiar faces. Alina Grant left her friend Sonia's birthday party still smiling, her heels tapping unevenly on the pavement as she made her way down the quiet street. The night air felt cool on her skin, which helped a little, but she was still too unsteady to walk straight, let alone think clearly. She tried unlocking her phone to call her driver, but her thumb kept slipping and the screen blurred in front of her eyes. The neighborhood was silent except for distant traffic, and she didn't notice the two men across the street until they broke away from the shadows. At first, she dismissed them, assuming they were just passing by, but the moment one of them called her name in a low voice, she felt a chill crawl up her spine. She forced her body to turn, but the alcohol made everything slow and heavy. The men approached her with a confidence that didn't feel accidental. One reached out and grabbed her wrist, his grip firm and controlling. Elena's breath caught in her throat as she tried to pull away, but it only made him tighten his hold. A few meters away, Ryan Hale sat inside his old hatchback waiting for his next delivery request. The evening had been long, and he was half considering calling it a night. His daughter Lily needed to be dropped at school early the next morning, and sleep was something he never seemed to get enough of. He rubbed his eyes and leaned back, but a sudden sharp movement outside his car made him look up. Across the street, he saw a woman struggling, her wrist trapped in a stranger's hand, while another man stood behind her, blocking her path. There was no sound, no shouting, just a quiet struggle that most people wouldn't notice. Ryan didn't think twice. He opened his door, crossed the street quickly, and placed himself between Elena and the men. He didn't raise his voice or act tough. He simply looked at them with a steady expression, the kind that said he wasn't going anywhere. The man holding Elena's wrist hesitated, then let go with a frustrated curse. The two backed away, muttering insults as they disappeared around the corner. Elena swayed as soon as she was free, and Ryan caught her before she hit the pavement. She was too drunk to stand, her head dropping against his shoulder for a moment as she tried to steady herself. Ryan didn't know who she was. He didn't recognize her face or her last name. All he saw was someone scared, vulnerable, and alone on a dark street. After a quick check to make sure she wasn't hurt, he guided her to his car and helped her inside, buckling the seatbelt so she wouldn't fall over. With no address and no way she could speak clearly, he took her to the one place he trusted, home. Elena woke up to the soft clinking of dishes and the warm smell of something toasting, the kind of homely sound she hadn't experienced in years. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The room was small, cozy, and nothing like the penthouse she was used to. She sat up slowly, feeling the oversized hoodie she was wearing slip off one shoulder, and blinked at the tidy apartment around her. A sofa bed beneath her, children's drawings taped to a fridge a few feet away, a tiny dining table pushed against the wall. Everything looked lived in, real, and strangely comforting. Her head throbbed from last night, and when she tried to stand, she felt the floor tilt slightly under her. Before she could take a step, a small voice spoke from the doorway. "You're awake." Elena turned and saw a little girl, maybe 7 years old, with bright brown eyes and a ponytail tied a little too high. She held a lunchbox against her chest like it was a treasure. Elena opened her mouth, unsure of what to say, and the girl added politely, "I'm Lily. Dad said you were tired." Elena forced a small smile, still confused. Before she could ask anything, Ryan appeared from the kitchen area, wearing the same dark hoodie from last night, now rolled up at the sleeves. His hair was slightly messy, and he looked like someone who had been awake far longer than he should have been. He stopped when he saw her standing and raised a hand. "Careful," he said gently. "You fainted last night. You're still dizzy." Elena felt a wave of embarrassment rush over her as fragments of the night before returned. The party, the dark street, the men, the fear, and then him stepping in. Her throat tightened a little. "What happened?" she asked quietly. Ryan explained everything in a calm, straightforward way. No drama,
No hero narrative, no attempt to impress her. He told her he saw her struggling, intervened, and brought her here because she couldn't tell him her address. He didn't even mention her full name until she did. When she realized he truly had no idea who she was, she felt something unfamiliar. Relief. For once, she wasn't being treated like a billionaire, a CEO, or a headline. She was just the woman who needed help. Lily hopped onto a chair and swung her feet while eating her toast, watching Elena with the open curiosity only children have. "Dad made you tea," she said proudly. Elena accepted the warm mug Ryan handed her and sat at the small table, feeling strangely grounded. She couldn't remember the last time she sat in a quiet kitchen where no one rushed her, expected something from her, or judged her. She noticed the lunchbox in Lily's hands, a simple pink box decorated with stickers, and wondered how long it had been since she saw something so normal. When she finally stood to leave, Ryan didn't ask for anything. No contact number, no explanation, no follow-up. He just nodded and said, "Take care of yourself." And as Elena stepped out of that tiny apartment into the bright morning light, she felt a strange pull in her chest. She had walked out safely, but she wasn't walking out unchanged.
Ryan went back to his routine, thinking the strange night was behind him. He worked his morning shift, dropped Lily at school, and returned to the delivery job that never slowed down. The only reminder of the night was the faint worry he carried, wondering if the woman he helped made it home safely. But Elena Grant was thinking about him far more than he expected. She sat in her office later that morning, staring at a boardroom full of people, who seemed to care more about quarterly numbers than the fact she had nearly been dragged into a car by two men the night before. Her legal team wanted statements. Her PR team wanted silence. Her security team wanted control. But Elena's mind kept drifting back to the quiet apartment with drawings on the fridge and the man who stepped in without hesitation. She didn't owe him gratitude. She felt something deeper, something unsettled, something she couldn't name. And when the urge grew too strong to ignore, she canceled her afternoon meetings, ordered her driver to take her across town, and showed up at the doorstep of the delivery company where Ryan worked. The moment she stepped out of her luxury car, the whole parking lot paused. Workers carrying boxes froze mid-stride, others peeked over shelves, and a few whispered her name in shock. Elena Grant was a headline. Everywhere her presence wasn't subtle. She held her posture with quiet confidence, wearing a tailored navy suit and sunglasses, her hair pulled into a sleek, low ponytail. She scanned the area until she spotted Ryan walking out with a stack of packages in his arms. His expression shifted from normal to complete confusion, then mild panic when he realized she was walking straight toward him. He set the packages down slowly, unsure if he should speak. Elena removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes still tired from the previous night, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Thank you for saving me." The delivery staff stared, jaws dropped. Ryan turned slightly pink, uncomfortable with the attention. Elena stepped closer and handed him a small, sealed envelope. "My personal card," she said. "If you ever need anything, call me." Ryan tried to wave it off, but she held it out firmly until he took it. His coworkers began whispering again, some elbowing each other, others smiling like they had just witnessed a movie moment. Elena leaned in a little, her voice dropping. "I'm serious, Ryan. I don't say thank you lightly." Then she did something he didn't expect. She offered him a job, a formal position as her personal safety driver, with a salary he couldn't even imagine. He blinked, stunned, and stepped back. "I appreciate it," he said carefully, "but I can't." She looked genuinely surprised. No one said no to her. It wasn't arrogance, it was simply her reality. But Ryan shook his head. He didn't want to feel owned by gratitude or indebted opportunity. Elena studied him for a moment, her expression softening, maybe even respecting him more for it. She didn't push. She simply nodded, turned back to her car, and left the parking lot with a quiet understanding that this story between them wasn't finished, and something in her heart told her he would cross her path again sooner than either of them expected.
Elena tried to move on after her visit to Ryan's workplace, but the uneasy feeling from that night refused to fade. When her security team finished their investigation, the truth hit her harder than she expected. The two men who followed her weren't random criminals. They were connected to Marcus Boyd, her ex-fiancé and one of the biggest investors in her company. The moment she saw his name in the report, her stomach dropped. Marcus had always been controlling, but she never imagined he would go this far. She shared the findings with her board, expecting them to take it seriously, yet all she got was corporate caution. They warned her to stay quiet, avoid scandal, protect the company's image. No one asked if she was scared. No one cared about the fact that she had barely slept since the attack. The room full of polished executives didn't see her as a person. She was an asset, a brand, a financial machine. It made her chest tighten with frustration, and by the time she left the meeting, she felt more alone than ever. Meanwhile, Ryan's life returned to its simple rhythm: morning school runs, deliveries, and quiet dinners with Lily. But every now and then he found himself thinking about Elena. Not the CEO, just the tired woman who woke up confused in his living room. He didn't know she was thinking of him too, or that danger had already circled back into his world. It happened on a quiet afternoon outside Lily's school. Parents gathered near the gate chatting while children ran around with backpacks bouncing. Ryan stood beside his old car waiting for the bell when he noticed a man leaning against a black SUV across the street. Expensive coat, polished shoes, arms crossed. At first, Ryan dismissed it, but when the man smirked at him with a look that felt almost personal, something in Ryan's instincts sharpened. The moment Lily came out running toward him, the stranger straightened and took a few steps forward, like he wanted to be seen. Ryan moved in front of Lily without thinking, blocking her completely, his muscles going tense. The man didn't come closer. He just gave a mocking half-wave, as if leaving a warning. Then he got into the SUV and drove off. 10 minutes later, Elena arrived, breathless and panicked, her heels clicking wildly on the pavement. She had gotten a call from her team that Marcus was headed toward the school, and she drove there without thinking. When she saw Ryan standing protectively in front of Lily, her heart dropped. Not because of fear for herself, but fear for them. Marcus had crossed every line now. She apologized repeatedly, the guilt heavy in her voice, but Ryan shook his head. "This isn't on you," he said quietly, even though he understood now that this danger wasn't random. It was tied to her. Elena felt something crack open inside. The board didn't care, the investors didn't care, but Ryan stepped in again without hesitation, just like he did that night. And in that moment, she realized something she had been resisting for weeks. She trusted him more than anyone in her world of money, power, and polished lies. She didn't just want him safe, she needed him close, because Marcus wasn't going to stop, and she couldn't face what was coming alone.
Elena didn't sleep the night Marcus appeared near Lily's school. She paced her apartment with her phone in hand, replaying every moment in her mind, faster each time. She was done being afraid. She was done letting her board tell her to be quiet. She had built her company from scratch and survived every storm. But this one was different. It wasn't about business. It was about safety, about dignity, about the people she cared for. By morning, she had made a decision that would shake her entire company. She called an emergency board meeting, one that was supposed to take place behind closed doors. But the media caught wind when she walked into the headquarters alone, without her usual security team, dressed in a crisp charcoal suit and wearing a look that warned everyone not to stand in her way. Inside the glass-walled boardroom, Marcus smiled like he owned the place. He leaned back in his chair as if he had already won the argument the moment she stepped inside. The board members whispered, unsure what she planned to do. Elena's voice, when she began speaking, was steady and calm, the kind of calm that comes just before a storm breaks. She laid out the evidence: photos, messages, security footage, timestamps, everything linking Marcus to the men who followed her that night. One by one, the board members looked up at him with wide eyes. Marcus's facade cracked just enough to show irritation. He tried to laugh it off, calling her emotional, unstable, overreacting, but Elena didn't flinch. She had practiced her silence, and now she used it like a weapon. When she finally spoke again, it was to announce his immediate removal from every position he held in her company. The room erupted in shock, half of the board supporting her, the other half scrambling to protect their own reputations. Marcus's face went red, then pale, then cold. He hissed threats under his breath as he stormed out, but Elena didn't even turn toward him. She had said what she needed to say. The fallout was instant. News cameras swarmed the building, social media exploded, and within an hour, Elena's name trended worldwide. Most people praised her for standing up to a powerful man, but a surprising number questioned her motives. And when she stepped in front of the press outside the building, she said something no one expected. She publicly thanked Ryan Hale, a single father with no wealth, no connections, no power, for saving her life not once but twice. She called him a good man, a brave man, words rarely spoken in corporate wars. Then, before Ryan could even process what was happening, she announced he would be joining her team as head of personal security. He was watching the live stream from his old apartment, Lily curled up beside him, as reporters whispered and cameras flashed around Elena. His phone buzzed nonstop. People accused him of manipulating her, of taking advantage, of chasing money. Some comments were cruel enough to make him consider turning everything down. But later that evening, Elena showed up at his apartment door again, without security, without cameras, without fear. She looked tired but certain. "I trust you," she said simply, "and I want you where I feel safe." Ryan didn't accept the job for her money or her fame. He accepted because danger was still real, and because he could no longer pretend that their lives weren't intertwined. And as Lily smiled up at Elena like she had been waiting for her, Ryan knew this wasn't about a job. It was about stepping into a fight he wouldn't let Elena face alone.
Life didn't magically settle after Marcus was removed, but the fear that once hovered around Elena began to fade. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe without looking over her shoulder. Ryan started his new position quietly, showing up early, doing the work with steady focus, never acting like someone suddenly thrown into a world of billionaires and high-rise offices. People in Elena's company whispered about him at first, calling him lucky, calling him suspicious, but Ryan never paid attention. He kept to himself, did his job, and refused to let the noise define him. Elena appreciated his presence more than she admitted. She felt safer when he walked a few steps behind her in the lobby, safer when he sat across from her in the car, safer when she saw him laugh gently at one of Lily's jokes. And slowly, without either of them planning it, their lives began to blend. Elena started visiting Ryan's apartment more often, sometimes to check on Lily, sometimes just to sit with them after long workdays. She traded tense dinners and fancy restaurants for simple meals at Ryan's small kitchen table, where Lily chatted nonstop about school and Ryan kept refilling Elena's tea without being asked. Somewhere in those quiet evenings, Elena realized she enjoyed being there more than in her own penthouse. The small apartment wasn't luxurious, but it felt alive, warm, real. Things she didn't realize she missed. When the three of them went to the park together for the first time at Lily's request, Elena found herself laughing freely, running in the grass in heels she definitely shouldn't have worn, and letting the sunlight hit her face without worrying about paparazzi angles. Ryan watched her with a soft expression, surprised at how easy she fit into the simplest parts of their day. Lily, of course, noticed before either adult did. "You should come with us more," she said confidently, tugging on Elena's hand as they walked along the path. Elena smiled, squeezing her tiny fingers. "I'd like that." Ryan heard it, and something warm settled in his chest, something he had pushed away for weeks. Not everything was perfect, Marcus was gone, but the mess he left behind still had to be cleaned. Elena faced board meetings, media questions, and internal battles, but now she didn't face them alone. Ryan became the steady presence she leaned on when the world got loud. She helped him upgrade to a safer, larger apartment closer to Lily's school. He helped her rediscover a life outside her office walls. And somewhere along the way, without any dramatic confession or movie-like moment, a quiet understanding formed between them. Elena wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was someone who knelt on the floor building puzzles with Lily, someone who learned how to pack snacks for school, someone who finally let her guard down. On a calm evening, as the sun dipped behind the buildings and Lily ran ahead chasing bubbles, Elena stood beside Ryan, watching her. There was no tension, no fear, just a peaceful silence that said everything. Elena glanced at him and murmured, "Funny how everything started the night I thought I was losing control." Ryan smiled gently. "Maybe you were just finding the right people." She nodded, her eyes softening, and for the first time in years, her future didn't feel lonely. It felt hopeful.
If you love surprising, emotional stories about ordinary heroes, make sure you subscribe to Drew Daily Stories for more dramatic twists and real heart moments.